Deborah Jones, and I'm so excited to welcome you. And today, this is a really exciting time to welcome you because we're going to go beyond monograms. I love embroidered lettering of all kinds, and today I'm really excited that we're going to talk about monograms and go beyond into all kinds of personalizations. We're going to talk about some monogram traditions, but remember, there are no rules. It's whatever you want and whatever you think is appropriate for the person that you're doing the monogramming for. And we're going to teach you all kinds of tips and tricks to know how to create perfect lettering, and even those tiny letters, how to create them without the knots and bulk and thread breaks, and that are very readable and crisp. We're going to show you how to stitch personalizations and monograms on fine fabrics. There's some tips that will help you do that flawlessly. And we're going to show you how your thread choices can affect your end result and the quality and the appearance of your lettering on any of your projects. You can check out some stitch-worthy jumbo fonts that have a knockout appearance on bed linens and bath curtains, all kinds of items of that type. So we even have some hooping tips that will help you with multiple hooping on monograms. So there is so much to learn in this exciting class. And I'm happy to tell you we're being hosted, and this entire event is being made possible by embroiderydesigns.com. And of course, if you haven't been to embroiderydesigns.com lately, time to take a visit, because there's always something new at embroiderydesigns.com. And we thank them for making this event possible. And, we are really lucky because we are going to be taught today by our lead educator here at Dime, Ashley Jones. And I'd like to welcome Ashley onto the screen to join me now. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, Deborah. So good to be here. I'm excited to share all my love for monograms.
Yes, I'm like you, Ashley. I love monogramming, but I really love all kinds of embroidered text and fonts. And I know that you have a lot of that to show us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think text is, our number one thing that we embroider. We're always adding a name or a saying or something to our embroidery design. So it is imperative to have enough text to choose from and to be able to edit your text. And we're going to talk about that today.
Well, great. I know that getting high quality text is on the minds of all our viewers. So I'm going to jump out and go over to the chat, and I'll see you in a half hour or so for a Q&A session. And meanwhile, I'll answer questions over in the chat.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. I'll see you in just a bit. Thanks, Deborah. Okay, everybody, so welcome to our Beyond Monogram event. So I'm excited to share with you some details about monograms, but like Deborah said, we're not just talking about monograms, we are talking about monograms and beyond. So we're going to be talking about text manipulation, and we also have some tips along the way for fabric and stabilization, things like that. So as usual, we are going to bring you a lot of information, so let's get right to it. So I do want to start with monograms. I absolutely love monograms. I do think that it is the ultimate in personalization. They're so classic, and I think they're timeless as well. But like we said, we're going to go beyond monograms and talk about text, but we're also going to go beyond some of the traditional monograms as well. So I've got a bunch of variations for you, but I want to start with some inspiration, maybe to get your creative juices flowing. So these monograms are all great examples. So single letter text that's all the same size, and also that center letter larger. Using multiple colors, putting your monogram on a diagonal is definitely a modern way to personalize something. Stacked monograms I love. We're also going to be talking about, the order of the monogram, if that's something that's confusing to you. But I love this one. What about putting the state around a monogram for a sports kind of theme personalization? So I think that's a really creative example. Couples monograms are things that go on items that are shared by the couple. Also layering name with a single letter monogram is a great way to personalize an item too. Love these. If you think that there are things that you can't monogram, well, look at these lamps. I think you could really monogram just about anything out there. We're also going to talk about jumbo monograms today, which I love. And I think embossing is a great way to add a subtle personalization to a fabric with a nap. So I've got a question for you guys out there. Do you think that there's a such thing as too many monograms? I don't think so. But again, I am from the South where monograms are huge, and everybody down here loves them. So hopefully you guys all love them too. But even if not those normal 3 letters, I bet you guys have personalized things with names and single letters before. So we are going to talk about guidelines for monograms today. We're going to talk about combining fonts. We're going to talk about embellishments for your monograms and also some designs that are perfect for text. And we're going to give you some unique font options with shadow work and Mylar. And we're talking monograms big and small, all the way down to those micro fonts. And we've got some tips along the way. So before we get started into those details, I just want to share with you about how our presentation works. If we've got anybody out there that hasn't seen one of our Dime virtual events yet, this is a shop and learn event. We've got a lot of information for you, but because Dime brings a lot of embroidery solutions to all of us, we also have some specially priced items that will help you along the way. So take advantage of those prices while they're available. And while you're watching, make sure you ask us in the chat pane because we're here for you to help you learn what you want to from this presentation today. So underneath the video, you'll see all of the items. I'm going to be discussing the majority of these, but you can always click the View Product button to see more detail about that item. And then if it looks like something that you would like to have, you can add that to your cart. Now, when you add that to your cart, you'll see this box pop out from the side, and you'll be able to click that checkout button there at the bottom, which opens up a new page. Now, this is very important. Click that show order summary when you get to this point so that you can see the items that you've added to your cart. But more importantly than what's in your cart, it's a location for a free ship code. So the discount code that you want to enter is surprises, and you are going to get free shipping to any US address when you enter the free ship code surprises. Now you'll see that scrolling across the bottom several times throughout the presentation. If you forget, just ask and we can definitely remind you of that free shipping code. And for attending our event here today, we have a free gift for you. This is our cute little monogram frame that you get for attending our event. It is a thank you gift from us here at Dime for supporting us through our virtual presentation, but also supporting our friends at embroiderydesigns.com. We appreciate them sharing you with us for the next 90 minutes, and I know that they are so thankful to have you here watching this presentation too on their behalf. So to get your free design, you'll scroll down to the bottom of the product list and then add that to your cart. Just make sure you watch for an email of how to download that design, so it'll come to you in your email. And then this is a very important message. This design is meant to be digitized, or it was digitized for 60 weight thread. So you do need to use 60 weight embroidery thread. It is thinner if you are stitching this design. We're going to talk about that 60 weight thread today. So we thought this design was a nice complement to your 60 weight thread option. So add that to your cart below. Now, some guidelines for monograms. We're going to go over this quick because I agree with Deborah. Traditions are traditions, but sometimes they're made to be broken when things change over the years. Our traditional monogram has evolved because our lives are so much different and more modern, I think, with our names and our initials. So you have the option for a single letter monogram, which is definitely the simplest way. You don't have to really think about who goes first, who goes second. So it's an easy way to get started. But 2-letter monograms are also very popular. You can do same size letters side by side, embellished with frames or brackets. is a great way to adjust those. The 2-letter monograms, those are easy to understand, right? Here are some variations. If you're talking about a couples monogram, separating it with a special character is a very modern way to do an embroidery for a monogram, or separating with the ampersand, sorry. And then also mirroring letters. I love that look of the EP there. So those mirrored letters make a really cool look, or even stacked letters are very popular and modern. 3-letter monograms, it's actually what I think of automatically whenever I think monogram. I think 3 letters, a larger letter in the center that represents the last name, but there are other variations. You can have all of your letters the same size, which is actually a great option for men's monograms. I feel like the larger monogram in the center can be a little more feminine, but there are also fonts that are perfect for men's monogram with the center letter larger as well. But even though those 3 letters generally represent an individual, your first, middle, and last name, there's also couples monograms. With couples monogram, in tradition, in past traditions, the men's initial was on the left because we didn't normally separate his names, and then the woman's initial was on the right. And I like to think it's because, well, we're always right? And on the right there is actually a more modern way with the female's initial on the left because, well, ladies first, I think is a good way to remember that one. And then the man's initial on the right. So really, traditional or non-traditional, like we said, you really can't go wrong. You could always check with the couple as to what they prefer, too. That's another good way to do that. 3-letter monogram variations. So here's some just some options for you. So we've got stacked, frames around them using same size letter but offsetting them, putting the letters on a diagonal either direction, 2 smaller letters on the left or either the right, or the smaller letters underneath that large letter at the top, which is actually one of my favorites. So I love that monogram. But in our modern world, we actually have many more options these days because we have families with unique situations. So some of our families don't share last names. So having a monogram to depict that is a great gift idea, because I think that you probably think 3 letters is always the way to go, but no, put as many letters as you need. So couples that don't have the same last name or hyphenated last name, here's some examples for you of things that you can do. I love the one on the right, which is great for someone that has 4 names. Maybe it's a double middle name, and you could put those around in that box. So I think that's just a fun little monogram. But even more, in our modern day, we have families that have maybe 2 hyphenated last names where you need even more initials, but you can certainly do that with all of these examples that you see here. Now, all of these examples and the images that you saw actually come from Dime's Word, Art, and Stitches program. So that's what we're going to be using today to create our lettering. So not just monograms, but lettering, and edit that lettering as well. I've got some fun examples for you. So Word, Art, and Stitches is a program that allows you to enter your text from your keyboard and manipulate it in any way that you want. But it's not just a lettering program. You can actually edit embroidery designs in this software too. So if you don't have any software, it's a great place to start because it's powerful enough for you to get exactly what you need. It has hundreds of features, designs, and text elements. So I'm going to go over there and show you some examples. Before I do that, I want to show you a couple of things that I've created, and then we're going to see how to create a few of those in the software. So I'm going to start over under my camera here because I have one of my favorite samples underneath my camera, and that is, oh, I thought I switched. Let me do that one more time. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so this example is one of my favorite things that I've made recently because of the font. If you guys are like me, I'm kind of a font fanatic. Like, I love different fonts, and this is actually a brand new font that was added to Dime's Word, Art, and Stitches. And look how every single letter is different. So if you type out the entire alphabet in this font, each letter has different little designs in them. And I think this particular font is perfect for us that like to create, we like to embroider, because it has all of those little elements in there. And I think it's a good representation of us creative people. So I love that. That's actually in our Word Art and Stitches, which we're going to see examples of in just a bit. But text on path, this is something that I use a ton. Have you ever needed to make your text shaped like a certain item? I'm going to show you how to make your text shaped like any shape that you want. In this case, I used a heart. Also, look at this example. This is a really fun modern monogram. This Fitzgerald font here is lowercase and added an exclamation point. So how cute is that? I just love that. We're also going to talk about manipulating text in a way that you can fill a shape with all of your letters. In this program that we're talking about, it actually has all of these cute little travel stamps built in, and you can see that some were incorporated into our little luggage tag there. So just all kinds of fun little things that you can do. Something like this. Even though it's a lettering program, I was able to create these to applique in the software, stack my letters, so it makes it really fun and easy. And look at this fun little example here. So this cute little bookmark, these little miniature designs actually are built into the software program, and I was able to couple them with the text to make my cute little bookmark. So I thought that was a perfect little example. So we're going to see how to use and create a lot of those things quickly and easily. Now, you can do all kinds of things in Word Art and Stitches, but if this example here, all of these things here, these are some of the things that you want to do with your text, then you are going to love Word Art and Stitches, which is where I'm going to start. And then we've got some hooping tips coming up later and some fun examples of specialty techniques. But in Word Art and Stitches, you can create applique with the built-in applique fonts, built-in puffy foam fonts. You can use true type fonts. Look at that canister of the flour and the sugar, where the text looks like it's three-dimensional on the shape of the canister. That was created with the click of a button, and I'll show you that. You can put things on a wave. You can make it shaped like any shape, like the heart there. But also look at that shape filled with all the text, that cute little cupcake. So that's something you can do too. So I'm going to head over and show you how to create a few of these things. We're going to do the text on the path, and we're also going to do the circle example here too. So let me head over to my software. So I'm inside of Word Art and Stitches, and I just want to start by showing you some of the built-in fonts. So Word Art and Stitches is a program that installs on your computer, and you can create any lettering in this program and add designs and adjust all kinds of things. We're going to talk about that. But if you already own this program, I'd love to hear from you in the chat also, because we actually added a ton of new fonts. So if you already own it and we do an update, you get those for free. So any of these texts that you see as I'm scrolling down here in red actually were just added to the software at the beginning of the week. So we added new fun fonts. We've got some run fonts that are perfect for your variegated thread. We'll talk about a little bit later. We've also added some fonts, really nice cursive fonts. And again, fonts that are perfect for your variegated thread. And like I said, we'll see that. And we've also added some jumbo fonts, some Mylar fonts, a shadow work font as well. And those are preceded by the name. We also added a lace font. So if you need a freestanding lace font, we added that as well. And as I scroll down here, I've got the Mylar font on the screen. That's this one here. And you can actually put Mylar under the letter. It gives you that extra little glisten. And there is the shadow work font, which I'm actually going to talk to you about. And we're going to see exactly how to use that later. But I seriously just want to show you this Taj Mahal font. So this is a built-in font that you can type anything that you want. Let's start with mom. And I think the O is so cute is the reason do that. Look how adorable. Now, of course, the two M's are the same, but let's write something else. So like, let's just do another two-letter. That's two different letters. And you can see the variations that you get. Look how adorable. I can just think of so many things that we can do with this. One letter alone as a monogram is going to be gorgeous just because of all of that little, those little additions. So that's definitely one of my favorite new additions, and you get that with Word Art and Stitches. So let's now change this text. I'm actually going to choose a different text. So let's go to the top. I'm going to choose the text first because those letters are so large. I want to make sure that I'm using a text that I can write in. So let me select here an option. There's so many to choose from. Sometimes it's just hard to do, but really any of them will work. So I'll just pick one. So let's do this one. And I'm going to type our text. So I'm going to say, life is better at the beach. And I'm going to click apply. And that's going to put my text on the screen. And what I want to do is I actually want to manipulate that in a circle, but I want to show you some other things that you can do with your text here. And some of these were new features. So this long sentence here, I can actually make this, I can change the perspective. The lower perspective is going to do this whenever you see it. Look at that. It kind of looks like that 3D. Now that's a really long word. If it was one word, it'd probably do better. But you can also change it to that spear shape, which makes it look three-dimensional. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see that. You can see how my letters get closer to me in the center. But I can change that by adjusting these little shapes around the text where I want that to be. So maybe I want it to focus at the beginning and kind of fade out toward the end. I can also put that on a wave. Look at that. This is one of my favorite options. So look at how cute this is. I can actually make these adjustments from all of these little shapes. Like you can see here, I can make it more pronounced of a wave. I can use this little option here to slide along and change where it waves. Is that not the coolest? So I seriously could just play with this all day and never get anything stitched. And then the other option up here makes more or less waves in your text, but that just looks three-dimensional. It looks like a ribbon to me. Look at that. It just adds a really cool effect. So you can do all of those things, but you can do regular editing as well. In fact, I'm going to do a right mouse click and reset my text to just the normal, because I also wanted to show you we have these built-in envelopes that you can just click one time and have your text curve slightly up. You can have a double curve. You can have it like a bridge, a pendant. And each of these, once you select one of the envelopes, you could always adjust it if you want it to be a little more pronounced, like this example here. So just a ton of stuff that you can do. And always, if you don't like the font that you have chosen, you can just select another font. So to see what your text is going to look like in that font. And look, it retains that setting that you created. So now I'm going to reset this again. So I'm going to undo because I just want it to be back to normal, because we're going to put this on a circle path here too. So I can choose to put it on a circle, a spiral, a path, or I can even make it vertical too with just one click, which is really cool and easy. But we're going to use the circle for this example, and I'm going to say apply. And now the circle, you can edit in very similar ways. So you can make it more oval, or make that, leave it as that circle. You can adjust the size of the circle if you want by clicking these little shapes around your text. Click and drag, and that's going to make my circle smaller. So I'm going to actually make this to where it doesn't quite touch, but I have a plan, so I know what I'm looking for. But you could just play with it. And I can also rotate it along the circle. Look at that. How cool is that? Super easy. And now I've got my text on my circle path. I think that looks great. But you could put a monogram in the center. So I could choose like one of my monogram fonts if I wanted. Now, when you choose the monogram option, it gives you that normal 3-letter, but maybe you want just a single letter. So you could choose one of these and just put one letter in its place. So like the fishtail, for example, I could just put one letter and use that font as a monogram. And I can resize it right here on the screen. And maybe you could put this as a porch pillow or something. So, and put the monogram, or you can put someone's address. But I have a little bit different plan. So I'm actually going to use one of the built-in designs. So these first icons here are all different types of text. So every time you click on one of these, you get a different type of text. So monogramming, micro, puffy, applique, true type, and calligraphy text. These options here are free designs built into the software. So I'm going to click on this one for text designs and scroll down. These are all small embroidery designs that you can use to embellish your text. And so as I scroll down here, I know there's a cute little palm tree that I want to use. So I'm going to find that. There we go. And select that and say, okay. Now, these are small designs, but you can resize them because the software does calculate the stitches. So I'm actually going to resize this a bit larger. And then I'm going to mirror image that because I kind of want it to follow along my curve there. And then I can just kind of slide that into place if I want. Look at that. And so a nice little monogram in the center would be perfect. But I have a design. This is a design that I actually have created. So it's not built into the software, but you can bring in designs that you own to use in your design. So this to me looks like a retro sunset. So I'm going to use that for the center of my text there for Life's Better at the Beach. And I changed my text to black. And for the little palm tree here, I actually want to bring it to the front so it stitches over top. And I'm going to change that to black so that it looks like a silhouette. And then I'm going to kind of rotate that so it kind of follows the curvature of my my little sunset there, and resize that larger. And just kind of rotate it and scoot it right out on the edge so it's not a ton of overlap. But these are satin stitches, and satin stitches just fine over fill stitches. So that will work great. So how cute is that? So you can put that on a beach bag or maybe a beach towel if you want, or maybe if you have a beach house, you can just put that on a pillow that's on the front porch. So isn't that awesome? So manipulating text, super easy. And in fact, another really fun way to manipulate text is to put it on a path. Now, when I say put something on a path, I mean, you can make your text shaped like pretty much anything. So let's do an example here. So I'm going to type out, love is patient, love is kind. That was the message that was on my little heart example there. And I can't talk and type, so I'm just going to type it. So love is patient, and I missed a word, but that's okay, because everything is fixable. So there we go. And then I'm going to click apply, and I messed up again. So, but the beauty of any of our Dime software is I don't have to re-enter the entire thing. I can just correct my mistake. And notice it had a little line under there to let me know I had misspelled it. So I'm going to make this red because I'm going to make it shaped like a heart because, well, hearts, I think red. So I'm going to do that. And then now we want this to be shaped like a heart. I actually want a little bit different text. I wanted something that was cursive. So I'm going to choose this font here. This is actually a new one that was added to the software that I love. And I am going to change the size so it's a little bit smaller. Now let's grab a shape. So here in this object here, there are built-in shapes. Each one of these that you click on, you can see there are open shapes that you can use. These can be turned into a variety of different things. So you can use them to create an applique shape. You can use them to fill with your text, or in this case, we're going to make our text shape like one of these. So if I go up to the regular shapes, I think there's a heart in here. Yep. And to do text on path, you need two things. You need a shape and you need your text. So I've got my shape and I've got my text. And I'm going to make this a 4-inch heart and click OK. Now I can look at that now that I've resized it to the 4 inches, and I know that text is not going to go all the way around. So let's go ahead and add the same text, but just add it another line of it. So I'm going to select this text and I can just copy and paste. And then I don't have to type again. And then click apply. And now it's going to be much longer, which is exactly what I need. There we go. So now to make this text conform to this shape, watch how easy it is. So all you have to do is select everything on the screen. So I just do a Control A to select everything, or you can drag a box around it. And once you have everything selected, this icon here becomes available, and I click it one time and boom, it is going to make my text shape like a heart. Look at that. Is that not the easiest thing ever? And this does not have to be a heart. It can be any shape that you need your text to follow along. And you can adjust this too if it didn't turn out perfectly. So I actually would like to separate right here in this part of the heart where it comes to that V. But if I do, my text will be too long for my heart. So I'm actually going to drop this down to maybe a 0.46 instead of a 0.5 to give me a little space there. And then I can move these along. So I'm going to go back, zoom back in. And when I use these little shapes in between the text, I can move it along the path. So if I click here and move, you can see it kind of scoots along, and that allows me to push that along the path and get it exactly where I want it. And I would want to fill in this gap, and you could also push these out a little bit longer here to give you a little more space to fill it up. So you just kind of play with it, adjust it to get it exactly how you want. So just kind of scoot that along, and I actually like that. I think that looks great. And then I can move these as well if I want, just to kind of push it closer to the heart. So look how wonderful. So that is just going to make the shape of your heart, your text. You could always put a design in there. I can see that being a monogram. If you use the built-in text, there's actually this really cute run stitch heart here that I like. There's actually several. Any of these would look great there. Maybe this one. Let's see what it looks like. So look at that. And again, these can be resized. They're built into the software, and the software recalculates the stitches. Look how gorgeous is that? Do you guys like it? Oh, I think there's so much stuff that you can do with this program. It's just, unbelievable. You can edit your text in so many ways. Let me show you another text on path because I just think this is fun. I already created my shape and my text. And then when I create my text on path, you don't have to have your text go all the way around the shape. You can see here that it's not long enough, and I just want it to go across the top. So if I put a space here in front, I can actually push from the beginning, and you'll see that it puts an extra object there for me so that I can push this along, and look at that. Isn't that adorable? So you could make that little mustache shape just like your text. So you can put it along any shape that you want. So really fun to do. So I hope that you like that. We're going to see actually many more things that you can do with word art and stitches a little bit later. But I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions, but then also I've got some other things to show you, some tips on hooping and fabric and stabilizer and all kinds of things. But word art and stitches does have over 250 keyboard fonts. So, and we just added some new ones. So I think the number is actually higher than that, 250. But these are broken up into categories. You've got applique fonts, puffy fonts, micro text, which you guys are going to get to hear about later. I have some tips on stitching that. And also true type fonts. It has thousands of built-in designs and shapes. So ink spots, text designs, monogram wizard templates, which we are going to talk about later as well. They're preset. You can select and just change the letters, and subway art templates. So that's over 1,700 worth of free designs. So 1,700 designs in there that I think are really valuable. And Dime always has free education for you. In fact, on any of our software, you can use the free education built right in, which is my favorite. If you hover over any of those icons, you'll see this little message pop out, which will give you the option to press F2 for a video. So you press the F2, or if your keyboard needs it, press the function F2, and it'll play a short video of how to use that feature. Once it plays, then you can just exit out. It actually plays in your browser, and you're right back to your software, and you never had to leave to search for where to find these videos. So I love that. Also, free education over on inspiredbydime.com. If you click on the support option and the community forum, you'll see these options. The first four are free to you. We have a user Facebook group that is monitored by Dime staff, including our education team. You also can use our YouTube videos. Eileen has a blog post for how to use our different pieces of software and a inspiration forum where you can ask questions. The last two options are also education. They are paid education. You can purchase workbooks that we've created to learn your software, or you can also purchase a 30-minute private tutoring lesson. So that means that you get a private session with an educator to ask any question on any of our software. Now, lucky for you guys today, because the free education is abundant, but we are including that paid education with the purchase of Word Art and Stitches today. So Word Art and Stitches is our software program you just saw. I'm going to show you a ton more that you can do with it a little bit later, but it comes with a free 30-minute private tutoring session. That's a software lesson where you actually can ask any question and get your answers and see it happen right on the screen. We also have 2 PDF tutorials written by Eileen Roach so that you can learn your Word Art and Stitches and get the most out of your software. So that's available below the presentation, so don't forget to take advantage at the special event price of $4.99. So that is a great place to take a break. What's coming up next is I want to share with you how to create those specialty effects on your item. So shadow work, using Mylar, specialty threads are coming up, and also embroidery foam under your text. So stay tuned for that section coming up next. But before we go on to that, let's see if we have any questions or comments. So Deborah, what's going on over there in the chat?
Well, plenty, Ashley, as you can imagine, because they are loving your inspiring examples, and that's what some people are calling them, because they truly are great. And so many people have asked if this software is compatible with a Mac, and I know, Ashley, you have a Mac.
I do, yes, and it is compatible with your Mac. It installs directly on your operating system. You do not have to have a virtual Windows environment to make this work, which is really powerful.
And one of the other most asked questions, and so I want to make sure everybody hears it, is whether these creations can be saved for their particular machine type.
Yes, I failed to show that, Deborah, but I'll show it when I go back. But yes, our software works with all machine brands. We can save to any machine brand out there, and even commercial formats. So all the things that you've seen my samples and me creating in the software can be saved to all those formats. So we're talking, EXP, PES, JEF, VP3, HUS. What did I miss, Deborah?
No, there's so many. You really can't list them all, but they're, I mean, if you see them on the screen, it's a long list. And so absolutely. And then, one of the viewers asked just a moment ago if it could be adapted to her 10-year-old brother machine. Well, sure, because we have the formats going all the way back, right, Ashley?
Yeah, absolutely. As those brother formats change, we add the new one, but we don't get rid of the old formats. So, and our software works with machines from long ago and current. We give free updates. I kind of mentioned those a little bit, Deborah, as I was going along. We've actually had a really nice update at the beginning of the week that added a bunch of free new fonts and designs. So we love to give you free stuff and update, which means we always work with the current embroidery machines and the older ones, but we always work with the current version of Windows and Mac too. So that's a good reason to have a software that stays current so that we're always up to date.
Right. And then, there was a, let's see, there was a question about could they buy the software without the bundle? Well, hey, the bundle, the value is in the bundle, right, Ashley?
Yeah, the software by itself is actually $499.99. That's the event price if you were to buy the software all by itself. And so if you get the Word Art and Stitches bundle, you're just getting those two education items for free thrown in. So by getting the bundle, it's really no additional charge. You just get some free goodies. And the nice thing is, I did see as we were getting started earlier, we have people watching from all over and some of them outside of the US. That Word Art and Stitches bundle is actually a download bundle, Deborah. So those of our international fans and followers here do not have to worry about paying shipping. If you purchase that, you watch for an email and it sends you the link to download your software and also how to take advantage of those two free education opportunities that you get and don't have to pay any shipping on any of it, which is really nice.
And you know, the lessons are great. The software is so intuitive that you really can start playing today, as we like to say at Dime, right, Ashley?
Oh, absolutely. And the workbook comes in the email, so you certainly could step through the two PDF workbooks to kind of give you a grasp. And then play around a bit. And then when you're ready, book your session with your educator so that you can ask maybe more advanced questions to get the most out of the free education that we provide. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Well, you know, we're answering a lot of questions in the chat, so I don't want to take away your time. So let's get back to it.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it. So let's go to some of those specialty techniques next, because this is really fun. These specialty techniques that I'm referring to here are things that, well, the shadow work, the mylar, and the specialty threads, those are things that we do in our regular embroidery all the time, but we are applying these specifically to text. So in the software, you saw me show that shadow work font. So this was a new addition to our software. When we did an update, we have a font that is specifically digitized to do as shadow work. So shadow work is a special technique where we stitch on stabilizer and then we put a sheer fabric over top of the fill stitches and then do the outline around the letter so that it kind of gives that shadow effect. It looks softer for the part that's behind the stitches. It's very unique. It's so fun to do and it's really easy. So what you're going to do for shadow work, and this actually is true for shadow work designs and fonts, but you're going to hoop a piece of stabilizer. In this case, I chose a tear away, but you certainly could hoop a wash away stabilizer if you wanted. And I stitched the fill portion of the design, so just the fill stitches, and I chose a bright color of what I wanted to show through, so it would really show through my sheer fabric. And in this example, I'm putting the letter on a coaster, a fabric coaster. So I used the target ruler from our embroidery toolkit to find the center. And then I was able to put that right in my hoop over top of the fill stitches that I already stitched. So now I did not move my text from the center of my hoop so that I could place my coaster down with that center mark. The notches in my hoop helped me get it lined up and perfect. So once I did that, I stitched the outline, which is the second part of the design that stitches, and that actually tacks the fabric to those fill stitches that we stitched on the stabilizer. Then you're going to take it out of the hoop and rip away the tear away stabilizer. If you used a wash away, you'll rinse it to dissolve. And you are left with nothing but your beautiful embroidery. So you can see on my coaster here, you can see that defined outline, but the color that's in between the outline stitches is very subtle. It's very soft. And that's what we're referring to when we're talking about shadow work. So I have a couple of examples here that I want to show you. And the next thing we're going to talk about is three-dimensional foam for your embroidery. So here's my example, my coaster with that letter B on there. Isn't that gorgeous? And again, this is a built-in font. And you can see on the back, so those are all my fill stitches. They actually are on the back of my coaster. And you can see my threads on the top, but it just creates a beautiful soft effect. People see this and they wonder how you got that because they don't see the thread, but they see the color. So it's really nice. In this example here, same thing, but this text here, these little flowers in Word Art and Stitches, if you choose the upper letter, you get just the letter by itself like I have here. If you choose the lowercase letter, it actually adds these little floral examples next to it. So you can do either this monogram or just the regular text. But in this example, I use that soft yellow, and I do have my run stitch on the top. And you can see my satin stitch and my stem is done, but that is a sheer fabric, so you can see it a little bit better when I open it up there, to show it through. But look how it's not super sheer, but you can definitely see my hand through. But isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. Very fun to do. If you've never done it, I urge you to try it. It's super simple, but you will have people wondering how you created that. Excuse me. And then next we're going to talk about a three-dimensional foam. So puffy foam, it's called often, is a technique where you actually embroider satin stitches over embroidery foam. A lot of times we see this on a hat for like ball teams, things like that. This foam is specifically designed for embroidery, and it is about 3 millimeters thick. So here's a piece of it here. So it's nice and spongy, but it adds the loft to your stitches. Now, a lot of times we see that on a hat, but you can actually put this foam on anything. Like here, I created this cute little pet bandana for maybe a pet that's in the shelter and needs to be adopted. So this text that's on here, I know it's hard to see on camera, but it actually is raised. So I don't know if you can see that example as I'm going up there. But it is raised. The yellow part has the foam under it, and the white outline in the background is just the outline stitch, the same as with my hat here. The green is the outline, and the blue has the foam underneath. So a really great example of a specialty technique. So let's take a look at how that's done. So foam letters are specifically digitized to accommodate the three-dimensional foam. You can put foam under other designs that have satin stitches, but don't do foam with a fill stitch because it just basically pushes it down, flattens it out. You won't have that effect. So foam only goes under satin stitches. You want to make sure you don't have any underlay in the design that you choose, and it is a closed design, meaning that there are no open satin ends like you would see in your Arial font. In this example here, this K. The K letter is actually from our software, and it is digitized to use foam. It has special caps underneath to cap off the end to enclose the foam. So when you're doing your foam designs, just make sure you're choosing the correct one. Also, designs that taper are a good place to use your foam. You just want to increase your density in your software if it's not meant to be foam. And so whenever I say increase, I mean you're actually going to reduce the number, which pushes your stitches closer together, as the example that I did here. So this little apron, I added this text. That's actually a built-in text into Word Art and Stitches. And I adjusted the density. It has tapered in, so it was perfect for my foam. So I stitched it, and I actually created this outline placement mark so I would know where to put my foam. But the built-in stitches actually have that placement line, the colored satin stitch or the outline underneath, and you'll place your foam over that. Then you'll stitch your design through the foam, and then you'll rip away the excess when you're all done. And then you're left with your beautiful stitches. Well, not so beautiful yet. Look at all that foam sticking out. So the embroidery foam, you want to match it as close to your thread as possible, because when you rip it away, you will see little bits like you see in my example here. So match it to your thread as best you can. So it's nice to have plenty of colors on hand. And then once you've removed your foam, you can heat treat it to make that foam kind of retract and pull behind those satin stitches to look a little cleaner. So to heat treat it, use a heat gun on a low setting, or if you don't have one like I didn't, I actually used my hair dryer on a very hot setting. And then I just had to hold it there longer, but give it some time and it does retract and makes it look much cleaner. So just a tip there for working with the foam. In Perfect Embroidery Pro, we have foam fonts that are already digitized to work with foam. We have 13 different font options. Each one of these has an outline color underneath it, so you'll know exactly where to place your foam, but you can use those for a variety of different projects. The foam that you want to use is available below the presentation at a special price of $22.49. It's a pack of 10 different colors so that you will have a color that is close to your thread when you're ready to stitch. And these sheets are 9 by 12. So of course you're just going to cut a small piece. If you're just doing 1 2-inch letter, you're just going to cut a square that's maybe a 3-inch square to cover it. So this foam will go a long way. And so it tears nice and clean, and you can launder it. That's the difference between embroidery foam and our craft foam. Craft foam is not always able to be laundered. Another way to kind of jazz up your text is with Mylar. So now if you've ever used Mylar in your regular embroidery designs, the Mylar goes underneath a fill stitch. So the fill stitches then stitch over top, and they're kind of a loosely dense fill stitch so that you can see some glisten. And we do have that new font, Mylar Serif font in Word Art and Stitches, that is perfect for this example. So basically, to stitch this, you're going to stitch the first color, which is an outline, and then you'll place your Mylar over and just tape it into place. And then you'll stitch the fill part of the design and rip away the excess after the fill stitches. And then that finishing stitch that comes and does that pretty satin around the edge will give you that nice clean finish. So I love that. Stitching with Mylar is really fun and easy to add some glisten to your text or whatever else. So maybe a shirt or anything, backpack. It's great for a lot of different things. So we have our Mylar film below the presentation if you want to give Mylar a try. It is a pack of 15 sheets that are 9 by 9. And again, this is like the foam. You're only going to cut a piece large enough to cover your letter. We use the blue opal color. The blue opalescent color actually keeps your whites looking white, and it picks up all your colors. So really, we just use that one color, and it's good for everything. So I love that. Now, before we go to thread options, or I'll actually do this, and then I'll come back and do the Mylar examples after this. So thread options. Now, for embroidery, there are so many different thread options that it makes our head spin, I'm sure, sometimes choosing exactly what we want. But for what we're talking about today, we're going to be talking about some specialty threads. So metallic, I've got some examples where I used our Kingstar metallic in text and monograms. So this thread doesn't kink or break like regular metallic thread. It actually is the smoothest running metallic thread on the planet. So I think that it's easy to work with. I don't have to do anything special to make it work. I run it right from my spool pin on my embroidery machine. I don't change my embroidery needle to anything special. I just use a regular embroidery needle, and I don't have to put it far away or, slow down machine. I run my machine at my max speed if I want to, and it stitches great. So Mylar, our metallic thread, is great for your lettering. So we have these 3 colors on special that are great for monogramming. So if you haven't ever used Kingstar metallic thread, make sure you snag one of those below the presentation at the special price of $12.59. So each spool, $12.59. So grab a couple. So then the next thing I want to share with you is variegated thread. So variegated thread can add a really unique effect to your text. You can have that variation color without having to even change a spool of thread, which is really cool. But sometimes, depending on the design, you get a striped effect if you use your variegated thread in your satin stitches. But we've actually created some fonts for you to use specifically with variegated thread, and we've put them in Word Art and Stitches to make your life easier and make some gorgeous text. So our color play kits are perfect for your thread for using in your text and your monograms. Color play kits, you see a lot of those options below the presentation. We have 12 different selections, but each one of them include one spool of variegated thread and the 4 coordinating colors. So those 4 colors that we've chosen are not just random colors that match, they are the exact color dye lots that are in that variegated thread. So now I'm about to show you some examples. I use this Carlsbad collection. I love this. This actually has some neon colors in it, which, believe it or not, it is gorgeous when it's all stitched out. I'm going to show you some examples. I also use the Rio collection, which is a combination of your pinks and blues. So you've got something for everyone just in those 2 collections. And then the Nashville collection is another one that I use on an example that we're going to see. But these color play collections, you have a choice of 12 of them. So if you click that view product button under color play, you can choose from the list of 12. And there are very good pictures there so you can see exactly what the color combinations are. So let me go over and show you some examples of some things that I have created with these specialty threads before we do our next break. So this example here, this is actually the Mylar font. Now, I will be honest, Mylar is very hard to show on camera. It does have a little glisten. I'm hoping the light will pick it up and hit. Let me go a little bit closer to my camera. Hopefully it will adjust there. But there is that Mylar underneath to add that sparkly effect. So that's the Mylar text. This is a fabric bookmark, which is a great gift idea. But then also, here, so take a look at this. So we're going to be talking about micro text in just a bit, and that is your frame. So I stitched on one of the coasters, and I added the text in the center. You get the frame for free, and I added the text. But then there's also Mylar, metallic. Look at that gorgeous gold metallic thread. So this example is actually one of the built-in templates into Word Art and Stitches. And then this bronze color, look at that. I actually like these colors all together. So this bronze metallic, this is actually a new font from our luxury font collection, which we'll talk about in a bit. But using metallic thread for monogramming is really fun and easy and adds some really nice elegance to anything that you really want to put it on. So that's that King Star metallic thread. Now let's look at those color play examples. So now when I'm talking color play, I'm talking about our kits, our thread kits that have a variegated thread, and it has the 4 matching colors that make up those threads. So I stitched in the variegated there as I bring it up. Maybe you can see that a little bit better. And then one of the colors I chose just to put as the text below. Okay. And the same thing, this is the color play font that is in the software. And I used this frame and I put the 4 matching colors in that frame. So that's a variegated thread in that text there and the 4 matching colors. So you can see that here. So there's the variegated that I used in the center. And the matching colors were these 4 options here. So this actually comes in the color play kit with these 4 colors that are the colors that match the variegated that you choose. So really fun examples, right? I love that. So let me move those. And I've got one more example for you here. And so look at this purple with that color play text. So this is a run stitch text that fills the area. They're close together to kind of give you that fill effect. But it looks great with that variegated. So this is the Carlsbad collection. So that there. And it is comprised of these 4 colors. Oh, I've got a messy thread there that I'll have to fix. With my snap spool base. So that's always nice to have those. And then I've got one more color that I'm missing. So look at those. So these 4 colors actually are the colors that this variegated thread is made up from. Now, I don't know about you, but I could have matched the blue, but I definitely don't have those fluorescent colors, and it's a perfect match. And doesn't that look gorgeous on that purple? I was so pleased with how that turned out. So just really fun example there. And that color play text, we'll see that whenever we head back over to the software, I'll show you. So just a lot of fun. I just love that. So now let's see what we've got next for our specialty techniques. Oh, and this actually is a good example. So there is the color play font that you see there. That's the actual font that's in Word Art and Stitches. And you can see a row of our variegated thread there, but it just stitches out beautifully. There's that napkin example that we just saw in a little bit closer up image there if it didn't come through the best on the camera. But inside of Word Art and Stitches, not only do we have that color play font, but we have other fonts that are great for variegated thread. So generally a run stitch font is good for variegated thread, and these are all built into Word Art and Stitches. But we do have one fill stitch font, which is that waffle font that is also specifically designed to use the variegated thread. So really fun, right? So I love that. I can just do text forever. I feel like, you can create so many designs with text. And speaking of, so my napkin that we saw here with that little color play on the corner, let's talk about marking a napkin, and then we'll talk about, then we'll go to our Q&A. So if you've got questions, make sure they're coming in. So now when you're doing embroidery on napkins or even towels, when you've got multiples, using a template is a really easy way to get those perfect results every single time. So you can use an item template to mark, and that is going to give you that same exact mark every single time. Now we're going to talk about marking a napkin with the right spot, but I'm also going to give you a tip for hooping multiple napkins in one hoop, which I love. It's a time saver, and it also is a money saver because it saves your stabilizer. So let's go over and look at that. So I have 3 of my napkins here, and I kind of have them staggered, as you see, and I'm going to use this template to mark each of them quickly, but I want to show you how this template works so that it makes a little bit more sense. So this template is meant to be used with a napkin on point, and it tells me to put the on the napkin edge, and that opening there is actually meant for me to mark, and that's where my embroidery design would land. Okay, so that's using this template. This is our perfect placement kit template. It comes with, I think, 16 different templates. But when you're doing multiples, we all know how assembly line is a huge time saver. I mean, it works. It's in a lot of factories for a reason, right? So I'm going to be using my target stickers, and I'll show you how to quickly do these. So if you're marking multiples, if you just line them up, you can actually place this on the fold there, get it all lined up, and just mark half, move right over, mark the next. And then when you open these up, you're basically going to fold the napkin out and press the remainder of your mark down. So look how easy that is, right on the corner there. And so now I would just open up and press that down, and I'm ready to put these in the hoop. Isn't that quick and easy? So for marking multiples, that's a really easy way to do it. Now I use my template from our Perfect Placement Kit. And it has templates for other things, not just napkins. So now let me scoot my napkins over, and we're going to be using Dime's sticky hoop. So have you guys seen the sticky hoop before? I bet we have a lot of Snap Hoop Monster users out there, so tell us in the chat. But if you've never used the sticky hoop before, it's a flat metal hoop. It doesn't have a top. It does go in your embroidery unit exactly the same way that your standard hoop does. And it's only meant for adhesive stabilizer, nothing else, only adhesive stabilizer. In fact, it comes with 25 sheets that are pre-cut exactly for the size hoop that you get. And you can order refill packs, which is a huge time saver. You don't have to cut the stabilizer. So now let me show you how to apply this. So you actually are going to stick the stabilizer to the back. You can see my messy hoop there. Because this only is meant to be used with adhesive stabilizer. You're going to have some residue, so don't worry about that. You do not have to clean this hoop every single time that you use it. The only time I really clean that off is if I get, like a ton of buildup. Then I'll clean it off with maybe some rubbing alcohol or something. And so you stick it right to the back, and when I flip this over, I now have my stabilizer in place, and I can stick my napkins right to my stabilizer there. So now what you would do is grab your first napkin and open it up, and you're ready to start. So start at the top of your hoop if you're doing multiples in one hooping, and place that down. Now I'm in a small hoop, so the design size that I would be able to do, is only a couple of inches tall. But if you want to do a bunch of these in a larger hoop, go for it. That's a great time saver. So now you would stitch this, take it to your embroidery machine, center your design over our mark, right, using your machine features, and then stitch your design. Once you're all done, peel back. Now, don't stitch on this side. Look, I marked the wrong corner there. I like to mark away from the tag. So put that back. Maybe use some adhesive tape, maybe just like your painter's tape or something, to make sure that that doesn't accidentally fall into the area that you're ready to embroider next. And then take your next napkin. Now look, I did this one right. It's on the corner without the tag. And then you're gonna, no, it's not. I messed up again, but that's okay. You guys know what to do, right? So then place that down, and then you'll stitch your design there and then peel that back. So, and again, I like to stitch away from that. So, and it seems like I just accidentally marked on the wrong one. And we have our last napkin here that we're ready to place down. And then you would stitch that design, tape it out of the way to make sure it stays out of your way, and then place that down. So isn't that super cool? And you're using up more of your adhesive stabilizer, so I think it's more cost effective too. Now, if you're concerned with sticking this napkin to your stabilizer and it not being straight, then I would recommend our PAL or our PAL 2. These are Dime's laser lights. So let me peel this napkin off and I'll show you. So you can line this up with the same number on either side. And you can also do it with your 0, your center mark. But here I'm at the 4 and the 4 there. So now I know I've got a straight line across there. So when I place this down, I would center my mark so that I know that I'm straight in the hoop, so that when my design starts to stitch, it'll be nice and straight. Still want to move your design to the center of that intersection of your target sticker to make sure you've got it in the right place. So this is our PAL, but you can also use our PAL 2, which is the larger version, which is my favorite one to do because I can get a longer crosshair beam with the PAL 2. So the things that I used in that example were the sticky hoop. If you don't have a sticky hoop, oh man, you really need one of these. It just makes it so much easier with your adhesive stabilizer. You can stick it right to the back, and they're pre-cut, 25 sheets pre-cut too. Now, I use this item template that you see there on the napkin, but another option is printing templates as well to audition your design on your napkin. So that's another good option. Now, the template that I used came from the Perfect Placement Kit. The Perfect Placement Kit gives you templates for your commonly embroidered items like napkins, towels, cuffs, sheets, pillowcases, so many different things that you can embroider on. So they're all in that one kit, and all the templates work the same way. So you would place down the template, mark the opening, and then you're ready to head to the embroidery machine. Now, earlier you saw that ruler that is a target ruler that had the opening in the center. When I found the center of that coaster, that is available in the embroidery toolkit. So grab that. And then we have the starter kit. So let me tell you this one quickly and we'll do our Q&A. So the starter kit is a great bundle to grab. Anytime Dime bundles, you get additional savings, even above and beyond the savings that we have for the event. So in this starter kit, you're going to get blanks, the stabilizer, the thread, and the needle that you need to stitch on those blanks, and also some mylar to add some sparkle to your item. So now the blanks that you get are a terry cloth towel. You get 2 of the hankies that I'm actually going to show you in just a bit, and 2 coasters that you've already seen a couple of, and 2 bookmarks that you've already seen a couple of. We give you the correct stabilizer to use with each of those, and also you get color play kits, the Miami and the Rio, and you also get our fine line quartet in naturals and basics. Those are our 60 weight embroidery thread, which I'm going to share a little bit more about those in a bit. And we're going to give you the 65.9 flat shank embroidery needle and a 75.11. The 65.9 is what you want to use with that fine line thread, and your mylar. So all of that for $169.99. So such a great deal. get you started with some of the monograms and the text. So before we go on to the next example, I'm going to show you more things in Word Art and Stitches, and let's see what else I got here. We're going to talk about micro text and how to have success, and jumbo fonts, and then answer any questions after that. So before we go on to those details, Deborah, do we have any questions or comments that we want to address?
Well, lots of great activity over in the chat. And, you know, some of the questions are related to, of course, compatibility, which, of course, it's pretty compatible with everything. And I want to stress, too, Ashley, because there's a lot of concern about, will it work with this program or that program? It's standalone, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't interfere. I like to say we play well with others, Deborah. So if you have another program that you use for maybe some specialty embroidery stuff, then you could certainly use that one separately, and you won't have any issues whatsoever. And you could save designs from both and read and write both directions. So, yeah.
And, you know, one viewer asked, this is a great question. You know, we had a lot of questions about, will it work on a Mac? And one viewer said, can I put it on my Mac and on my Windows computer, Ashley?
Yes, you can. You can install it on 2 computers and use it at any time on those 2 computers. So yes, they can be the same type of computer or different with different operating systems. So that is a good question.
Yeah. And one viewer asked if we're going to talk about needles.
I don't have a ton on needles, so I would say ask for a specific, question if you have any questions. So we've got some specialty techniques that we're talking about, but certainly the needle choice for your fabric is very important, as we know. So if you have questions, make sure you're asking those. Maybe we could answer some of them specifically. What do you think, Deborah?
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to field the needle questions over in the chat because, as you know, it's one of my favorite topics. So we'll do that over there. And of course, in the shopping pane, there's a great needle product. So check that out.
Good.
Okay, Ashley, let's get back to your lesson.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to just share one more thing that I think is a great complement to the starter bundle. So the starter bundle has some blanks for you, stabilizer, needles, and thread, and the Mylar. But if you don't have a good option for text already, this is a great place to get started. Or if you are a Dime software user, this new font collection actually installs inside of your software. So whether you're new or you are a seasoned Dime software user, this font pack I am in love with. We call this our luxury font pack. It has 25 new fun fonts, and 9 of those are actually monogram fonts that come with specialty frames. So here's some examples of some things that we've created with these fun new fonts. And I'll show you the stitch outs that I have here under my camera to show you the example. But these are it's a great collection. So here's all of the examples. You can see here it has both serif and sans serif. It has cursive fonts, or script fonts, I guess I should say technically, and also some monogram fonts. And those special frames that are around the monograms are actually included that you can add or just have the monogram all by itself. That circle monogram there is a jumbo monogram, so that's a great option. I wanted to show these to you all stitched out. Look how gorgeous they stitch. Love these 2-letter monograms because it solves an issue. We talked about that. We've got a lot of special cases there. These little frames added around. It even comes with a script. That one's great for your variegated thread. And then here are the monogram options. I love this. This is so elegant. It can be a jumbo size. And then look at this really cute narrow design, and you've got the frames. Another 2-letter included. So that's the luxury font pack. So the luxury font pack you can use if you have Dime software. It will install in that software. If you don't have any Dime software, don't worry. You can still use it because it installs inside of our free embroidery tool shed. So you're able to type those letters out. And actually, that will then allow you to manipulate the fonts very similar to what I was showing in Word Art and Stitches. So So now let's give some tips on some fine linens. I love this example. And then after this, we're going to see a word art and stitches one more time before we go. But fine, delicate fabrics can be a challenge to stitch with. So our recommendation is this Sullivan's Fabric Stabilizer. This is a spray-in stabilizer that you will prep your fabric with. So when you're dealing with slippery fabrics or, again, just very delicate fabrics like chiffon or silk charmeuse or voile or just soft polyesters, give the fabric a treatment with this spray-in stabilizer. So you spray it in and then you can iron it dry. It adds body to your fabric. So when you are embroidering, it's going to make certain that you have enough stability to support those stitches on those delicate fabrics. So Fabric Stabilizer by Sullivan's is available below, but that's what we use to prep our delicate fabrics like our handkerchiefs that are in that starter kit that we talked about. So another tip is stabilizer choice. So when you are stitching on these delicate fabrics, a lot of times they are sheer, so you can see the stabilizer remaining behind. It makes an opaque kind of effect, and you don't want to see that. You just want to see your beautiful embroidery. So that's why we use our specialty stabilizer called Sew and Heat. Sew and Heat is actually a stabilizer that is a specialty stabilizer that you can stitch your design through and iron it away. But it can also be used as a backing because it's transparent. Even if some of the little bits are left, you will not see them. So this is what we used when stitching our handkerchief design. So we hooped one layer of the Sew and Heat and two layers of the Sew and Heat and the fabric on top of that in our standard hoop. Stitch your design. In this case, when we're talking hankies, a lot of times these are micro fonts. They're really fine lettering. So you'll stitch your design and then take it out of the hoop, rip away any excess, and then iron away any remaining stabilizer. It will completely get rid of that stabilizer and you're left with your beautiful design, and you don't see any stabilizer left behind it because it is transparent. Now, I know some of you guys are asking in the chat right now, if it dissolves with the heat, does it stick to my iron? And the answer is no. When you iron it, it actually kind of balls up into little balls. So you'll iron it and then you'll just dust that off of your item. It does not stick to your iron. So that's the Sew and Heat stabilizer. And I have an example that I'm going to show you of these. But the micro fonts that we used to stitch those examples are actually in Word Art and Stitches. So I'm going to head over and show you some of those examples coming up. So how to select your micro text is actually an icon, and you can see your micro font options. And we actually added new ones. If it's in red, it's a brand new font. I'm also going to show you how you can create these cute little designs with the bubble text, and look how adorable these stitch out. I just love these, and it's so fun to create these. We also have built-in subway templates as well. So let's see the examples with the Sew and Heat, and then we're going to see that in the software. So here's my handkerchiefs. Look at these handkerchiefs are in the starter kit. Look how gorgeous these are. And then I created a few different ones here. So with micro thread, so this is with our 60 weight embroidery thread with each of these. And you can see if I open up the back, look how gorgeous it looks even on the back. So that stabilizer completely disappears. And I actually, as the light kind of hits, this is the back, guys. If the light kind of hits it, I can see that there was like a little shimmer of a piece that was left. But the thing is you don't see it on the front because it's transparent. So is that not beautiful? So talk about delicate stitching. Love that. And this is what the Sew and Heat looks like. It is a transparent stabilizer. It can be used on the top or on the bottom. So, and I created these micro texts are all in the Word Art and Stitches program. So let's head back over there and see a few more things here before we get done for today. So I'm going to start a new page, and we talked about, let's see what we've got. So micro fonts, to select those, you just click the micro font icon and then click. You can select from any of these built-in text. These are specifically digitized to stitch down to 3 millimeters, which is less than 1/8 of an inch, guys. And then if you want to see the applique options, so if I click once and then click on my text option, so these are all the built-in applique fonts that we mentioned earlier. And then I'm going to click on the puffy option, and it'll put my one letter there, and then I can change it up here. I know that looks like a mess, but I was just trying to select the font for you. So there are all my puffy font options. So your text options are just really impressive. Like I said, there's over 250 options here. Each one of these icons get you to a different category of text. So I'm just going to delete those off my screen. And let's start with the subway. So we're going to start with, so this particular demonstration is about templates. So how easy we make it. So let's start with the subway templates. So when you install your Word Art and Stitches, over in your library, it actually installs a category that says subway. These are templates that are already pre-created that you can change the name and stitch this, and it's a personalized item. So we have for sports, there's I Do, Hope, Family, Happily Ever After, and Baby options. So I'm going to select the first one here. We're just going to show you how to change that. So this is a template. All you need to do is ungroup it, and then you can actually edit the text, because this was these texts are all in your program. So I select Maggie. Do you see how it pops up Maggie over here? So maybe now I want to create one for a new baby that is Jason. And you can put, it was in all caps before, and so this font is actually all caps. That's actually why it didn't show up. So I'm going to go back and fix that and put all capital letters. Now, if you don't like the all caps, you can change the font if you want to. So, and then all you need to do is make it fit. So I just stretch it to fill that shape so that my template is still intact. But you would do the same thing with the date, the weight also, and you could change some of these words if you'd like, but it's really easy to edit these pre-created templates. So maybe you want to switch to a different type of text here. So you can click to switch if you want. I really like the font that was chosen, but hey, we all have different taste, right? So you can click to change that to a different text. So isn't that cool? So those are the subway templates. You actually get 9 different ones free with Word Art and Stitches. So I'm going to open up a new page here, and let's look at another wizard. So we have our new monogram wizard. So the monogram wizard is a brand new feature that was added literally just this week. So the monogram wizard is a ton, and actually I think it's 200 different templates that you can choose from. We have 1-letter, 2-letter, 3-letter templates, and even those modern 4-letter. Remember we talked about that, needing those modern options sometimes. And we also have some with the names. So each of these templates, it's really easy to adjust. So this template right here, I actually used it instead of a name to create, well, let me take my cap block off this time, a hat that just says Island Life instead of a name. Gosh, I just really can't text and type and talk. My brain needs 2 separate actions. So there we go. So even though that's a name, I was able to change it to whatever text I want. And so I'm going to do one other here. So I also want to point out that if you have text like this one, for example, or either this one here that has 2 letters, it wants you to change those 2 letters, but there's nothing preventing you from doing 3 letters maybe if you needed one of those specialty monograms we were talking about. So enter those 3 letters and it makes the adjustment to fit in that area. So really cool and simple, right? So you choose whichever you want to work with and enter your custom text. But it doesn't have to necessarily be along the same lines. This one example here is one of my favorites. So the O'Brien family. So you could change the name here. So maybe I want to put the Jones family. That's me. And click apply, and it changes for my name there. And or maybe I want to say, you know, like maybe I want to put this on a bench pillow. And I want to put the Jones porch, you know, so you can do that as well. So you can change any of the text, or maybe you didn't want it to be the Jones porch or the Jones family. You could actually put a date here, established, you know, there's so many things you can do. But then once you apply that, add that to your screen, this is actually ready to stitch out unless you want to make adjustments. Now, if I want this to fill more of the area, I just select it and stretch it to fill the area. The software adjusts where it needs to make sure it still stitches well. And then I'm going to save it. File and save as, and then take a look at all these formats, guys. We can save to pretty much any machine out there. So these are the formats Deborah was talking about. We even have some of the older formats for the machines, but we have every brand of machine in here, even commercial formats, which a lot of our machines will all read pretty much DST. So you can save to those formats as well. So just a ton of different options. We got you covered, I promise. So that's the monogram templates. Let me show you a couple of other things that I've created here. So you saw the one about the porch, but there is a template. Let me zoom in here. That is lists the Martin family, but again, you can change it to whatever you want. So I did Home Sweet Home. Also, these templates here are pretty cute. So this template that has a surname and this surname in a box all around it, you could change it to a family monogram. So maybe you're putting this on a throw blanket for their sofa, and you could put the kids' name and the mom and dad if you want. So it's really up to you. And then this example that we see here, I'm going to zoom out. Oh, and then I'll zoom back in so we can see it close up. So this example, this is the original with the couple's name and monogram, but you could change that to a address if you want. So there's so many things you could do. And as if you couldn't tell, I love word art and stitches, so I could go on and on and on. And then this example here, I actually went ahead and created the text to talk about mixing text. My biggest tip for mixing different font types is to make sure they are as different as possible. You don't want them to look like they're trying to be the same. Mixing the fonts looks best when they are very different. And here with this saying, I absolutely love that. I thought that was a cute saying. I could always add some of those little text design. Remember these little miniature designs here? We call them charms. There's this little crown. And I could set that crown there right on the edge of my C to make it look like it's wearing the crown there if I wanted. Isn't that cute? And I could even move this over if I needed to, maybe even left align it or right align it, sorry. And then I can just scoot it to the side and make sure it doesn't stitch on my crown. So how cute is that? But all this text came from Word Art and Stitches. And you guys saw that a little bit earlier, and how easy it is to create these designs. So those fun little text designs, another really cute example, if I scroll back up here to the top, let me see if I can locate this one more example here. So the text designs are fun to just put in your text. So I actually use the same text here. This was a really fun example that I actually saw years ago. Look at this. And this example, you can see that the monogram is the same, colors have been changed, and add those cute little text designs to give it a completely different look. So sports teams, holidays, birthdays, and just something fun if you want to do that. But this is a built-in text, the wingtips. And every one of these little things here are built into Word Art and Stitches. So really fun and easy. So hopefully I covered all of the things that I need to. It's a very powerful software, so it would really take a long time to go through all of it. Oh, the bubble text. I just reminded me. Look, I'm glad I had my little reminder. Let's see that quickly. It's actually super easy. So to use the bubble text, you just choose the option here, and it opens up a screen and just answer the question. So what size you want it, what type of font you want, if you want little icons. Oh, my software is running slow. I've got so many things opened up. So hopefully it'll open up here in just a bit. And then you just adjust those settings to get the look that you're going for. So I actually think it's mad at me. I did too much. It's saying not responding. So, oh, there it goes. Boom. Okay, so you choose the shape. That's the first step. So I'm going to go quick and choose something that we all love, our sewing machine here. And then you put in the text that you want. So this can be anything you want to say. So love, fun, fabric, whatever you want to say. You can type as many as you want. And then you can choose the direction. I'm going to let this fill up. You can choose the direction. You can choose the font type. It actually is a combo of several different fonts. You can choose if it has an artwork outline or a run stitch or an applique. So I'm going to change the color here and make it an artwork or an applique around the edge all at once. And then the little decor items are little miniature designs that'll pop up in here, and I'll add that and then have it generate that, and we'll show you. So it's just really fun. Every time you click that apply button, it actually will regenerate a different random order, so that you could literally sit here and keep clicking, 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 and never even take one stitch. I love playing with it. It's almost like a slot machine. But look at the little icons. I added sewing machines, a heart, but I even added a $sign because I don't know about you, but my hobby, I love to spend my money there. So that's where I put all of my extra dollars, is in my fun hobby. So I just love that. So those are some examples. We talked about those and things that you can do with the software here. So now, last thing I want to share before we go, just so you know, because I want to give you tips on the micro text so that you have success. So the micro fonts that are built in will stitch down to 3 millimeters. And these are specifically digitized to do so. You can't reduce your standard font that small, because if you do, you will actually have issues with the stitch out in the areas that the text overlaps. So that's usually in areas like this. So we've actually created these fonts with no overlap so that they will stitch out really tiny and are still legible. In fact, you've already seen some of my examples. So you have to have the right font, which is what you just saw. You have to use the right thread, which is a 60 weight embroidery thread, like our fine line thread. This thread is a thinner weight than your regular embroidery thread. We actually have 4 specials for you. So these 4 colorways are available below in the 60 weight. You can have one or you can have them all. But you can see from the drop down list when you select it below the different colors and which thread colors are in each one. But those are fine line 60 weight thread. You also have to have the right needle, which is a 65-9 needle. So that needle is smaller. It has a smaller eye. So just make sure when you're threading, your needle threader on your machine most likely will not work. So you'll have to thread that by hand whenever you need your needle threader the most. It's not helpful, but the eye is just so tiny. Because it is a smaller footprint, it's perfect for those micro fonts. Now the 65-9 needle is available in both sharpnesses, ballpoint and a sharp. You're going to choose the needle based on which fabric you're using. So I'm out of time, so I actually will stop there, but I want to show you this hat. So look at my hat, how wonderful that stitched out when we go big. Instead of going to my camera there, I used this, look at that, to stitch out that cute little item. And then look here, this is my little hanging thing for my Jones family. So isn't that beautiful? Stitched out great. So Deborah, we are all out of time, so I'm going to stop right there. But do we want to answer any questions before we go?
Well, here's a great one for you, Ashley. A viewer just asked, what are the biggest fonts?
Oh, wow. We actually do have jumbo fonts in the software as well. There are 2 new ones that they have jumbo in the name. And if you get the luxury font pack, there's a jumbo monogram in there. Those fonts can be stitched up to, I think it's like 10 or more inches, Deborah, right? And in fact,
yeah, I think maybe the default size is 8 inches, but they can go bigger. Yeah.
This one is 8 inches that I've got here. The nice thing about the fonts that are built in, since they're specifically meant to be this big, the satin stitches are the correct width. A lot of times when we stretch a satin stitch larger because we're trying to get a huge monogram, we have to have a split satin, or either you'll get to your embroidery machine and you'll see a gap where the stitches don't even stitch out if they're too wide. So those are great fonts to have.
Absolutely. And some of them are low stitch count, even though they're giant. So yeah. Yes, really cool. Absolutely. Okay, Ashley. Wow. What you packed in so much. We are overwhelmed with the mind-blowing possibilities of this software and just your great tips on how to get your best quality. So thanks so much for sharing all of that. And of course, thanks to embroiderydesigns.com for hosting. And gosh, Ashley, can't wait to go work with my software. Thanks so much for showing us all your tips.
Absolutely. And thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. And thanks to embroiderydesigns.com for sharing their fans and followers, right?
Right. So until we have another event hosted by embroiderydesigns.com and Dime, we're going to say thanks for watching and bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.